own government will not allow us. And
Hi lovelies, and welcome back to another TikTok video. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Trinidad and this is Ballistic Gist. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you'll be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the love and support. And if you're coming from Belinda Trinidad and you're here, you are most welcome. Thank you so much for joining the family. All right, lovelies, let's get into this video. So lovelies, I came across this educating video on my For You page on TikTok and I thought to share with you guys where this man was actually educating and telling how the white Jews that we all see today are not the original or the real Jews that is from the Bible. And this actually got me shocked. Like, this was like, are you kidding me right now?
You have to remember one thing I think is very important, that the white Jews that we see today have no bloodline connection with the Jews of the biblical period. They were converted to Judaism in Europe and in Russia. They were converted and have no bloodline connection with the black Jews who make up the biblical Israel that the Bible writes about and of which Jesus was a part.
Well, what happened to the black Jews?
The black Jews are still in existence. There are black Jews in America. There are black Jews all over Africa. There are black Jews in Palestine. There are black Jews everywhere. Diane's daughter complained not more than 2 years ago that black Jews had moved on either side of her house and therefore her property had depreciated in Palestine. Black Jews had depreciated her property. Jews had moved directly from Palestine to India, and the community you have to remember one thing I think is very important, that the white Jews that we see today have no bloodline connection with the Jews of the biblical period. They were converted to Judaism in Europe and in Russia. They were converted and have no bloodline connection with the black Jews who make up the biblical Israel that the Bible writes about and of which Jesus was a part.
Well, what happened to the black Jews?
The black Jews are still in existence. There are black Jews in America. There are black Jews all over Africa. There are black Jews in Palestine. There are black Jews everywhere. Diane's daughter complained not more than 2 years ago that black Jews had moved on either side of her house and therefore her property had depreciated in Palestine. Black Jews had depreciated her property. Jews had moved directly from Palestine to India, and the community celebrated its 1900th anniversary or something, and they had white Jews who had emigrated from Europe and black Jews who had originally come from Jerusalem at the fall of Jerusalem, had an uninterrupted straight line of connection from the fall of Jerusalem to India. All over the world there are black Jews, but the Zionist Jews who had been converted to Judaism have taken over the control of the definition of what Judaism is, as white people do with anything. If they come into it, they take it over and define what it is, as you stated in your introductory statement. So we have to remember that white Jews, when you see them on the street, are not the Jews of the biblical period. And that sometimes confuses black people who ought to be black Christian nationalists.
See, one of the things I'm hearing...
And when it comes to this video, Madeline turned him every which way but loose. Let's see.
I made a video talking about how, as an American, if I want to be on the right side of history, 99% of the time, the easiest way to do this is just to not agree with anything the United States government is telling me. If the United States tells me a country's my enemy, it's probably not. If the United States tells me somebody's my ally, they're probably up to no good. This is the simplest shortcut to having a pretty good opinion about foreign policy that you, as an American, can take if you don't have time to research things. Fortunately, I do have time to research things. And that is why when this person said, if you don't like it here, you should try going to North Korea, Iran, or Afghanistan, I had to laugh. These are hilarious examples of other countries to choose, and I will explain why. First of all, North Korea, I as an American am not allowed to visit. I think I spent a lot of my childhood assuming this was because North Korea didn't want people going there and seeing what was going on. Actually, people from other countries can and do visit North Korea, but you know who's not allowed to visit North Korea? Americans. And it's not because North Korea won't allow us, but our own government will not allow us. Instead, they're content to make sure anything we think we know about the region comes from one source, primarily Radio Free Asia, a fake news source started by the CIA with the expressed goal of being anti-communist propaganda. Any weird story you've heard about North Korea, like that everybody there has to get the same haircuts? Yeah, that probably came from Radio Free Asia, which to this day is funded entirely by the United States government. So, babe, I cannot go to North Korea because the United States will not allow me. because they do not want Americans to see the disconnect between the propaganda machine that they have created, telling you things about North Korea, and what actually happens in North Korea. The second example, Iran, is somehow even more perplexing for you to bring up, because if you know anything, you know that the democratically elected prime minister of Iran was overthrown in a violent coup by the U.S. government. Why? Because he was going to nationalize the oil fields in American business. So instead, we overthrew him and installed a right-wing dictatorship that was sympathetic to American interests. A puppet government, if you will, that so violated and infuriated the Iranian people that they overthrew our puppet government, dispelled all of the Americans, and put in instead a reactionary government whose main goal was to oppose U.S. intervention in any capacity. Everything you don't like about Iran, babe, you don't like because the United States government did it. That's right. My country, the United States, destabilized all of Iran for decades, dismantling their democracy because their democratic voting process led to a result that was not favorable to us. Not exactly the most ethical course of action, if you ask me. And last, Afghanistan. I can only assume you must be extremely young to include Afghanistan on this list, because if you have been alive for nearly as long as I have, I am 37 years old, the United States efforts in your lifetime to destabilize Afghanistan. The CIA was so heavily involved in Afghanistan, funding and training covert terrorist organizations there to fight against communism in the region, that we actually kind of created a big problem for ourselves. What was it? Say it with me. The Taliban and Osama bin Laden. Yes, all of that came from CIA funding in Afghanistan. Then our government proceeded to bomb the shit out of Afghanistan in the wars that followed 9/11. We didn't like what we had created, I guess, displacing nearly 6 million people in Afghanistan. So everything you don't like about Afghanistan right now, yeah, that's directly the result also of the United States. This is what I mean when I say, if you want to know what opinion you should take about foreign policy as an American to be on the right side of history, USA bad is the opinion that will get you to the right place 99% of the time.
Moral of the story, we not welcome over there.
Even, the 1967 war, there are Jews that say it was worth it because we got the wall. The wall is holy, yes, fine. But human beings are much more holy than a wall. They sacrificed men, women, and children, their own people even, for a wall? What are you, crazy? The entire Zionist ideology from beginning to end is so antithetical to Judaism, and this is why the Zionists made Zionism, because they knew that Jews didn't like wars. We would rather run than fight, and that drove the Zionists crazy. Where's the Jewish art? Where's the Jewish architecture? Where's the Jewish sports? Where's the Jewish strongmen? And most of all, where are the Jewish warriors? Our attitude was, go do it, become them if that's what you want. But they did not succeed because of the pogroms. So they said, we're going to change all of you, all of us. We're going to steal your identity. We're going to tell the world, our wars are your wars. Our country is your country. We are the state of the Jews. Our wars are the wars of the Jews. We're fighting for you. Our prime minister is the prime minister of the Jews. And that is why Zionism is so antithetical, so the opposite of Judaism. And
the notion about Jews never having military heroes, you wrote about that in your book, and it really touched me. You said they never had military heroes. We only looked up to righteous people, never to the warrior, the athlete, or the artist. It would be unthinkable for the Jews to have the scene of a military battle become a national attraction. Meanwhile, compare that to what Israel is. Everybody has to serve in the military. Everyone. Right. It's a state of soldier.
And that's why Ben-Gurion called the military the melting pot. This is precisely why they insist on drafting all ultra-Orthodox Jews. And now you know why we refuse to go. They will refuse to serve their country. Oh no, the purpose of Israel's army is not merely to be a military. The purpose of Israel's army is to be a melting pot. It's a church of Zionism. You know that they teach about Judaism and Jewish identity in the army? It's ridiculous. The army is their church of Zionism. And by the way, if you ever argue with any Zionists, this idea that Zionism is the only country in the world that doesn't represent its citizens, they have no answer. Entire Zionist history, culture, Jewish identity is all contrived. It's synthetic, it's artificial. People sat down, and they still do today. There are think tanks, JPPI and various others like that. And I think, how could we further advance Zionism? How could we change the story? How could we better the story? How could we progress? How could we get more followers? And all of these guys, these names aren't really natural, organic names of their families. They changed it. And Ben-Gurion made a rule that over a certain level of employment or in the army, an officer or employee, you have to change your name. Everything, the whole history is a fake. Their identity is a fake. And it's my identity that they stole. This is it, you know? Zionism is anti-Semitic. Zionism is anti-Jewish. And the solution, we have to get rid of Zionism. They couldn't even decide whether they wanted the Holy Land or somewhere else. You know, they had the Uganda plan, they had other things. And Theodor Herzl, who was the masterminds behind Zionism, he said, no, listen guys, we want the Holy Lands because remember, this is like identity theft. He didn't use these words, I'm paraphrasing of course. He said for marketing purposes, we need to get the Jews to identify with our movement. So we're going to use Jewish symbols, phrases that are familiar, concepts that are precious, and we're just going to twist them a bit. Kind of.
Yeah. You know what's interesting that on this specific topic, you refer to one of the Zionists in your book who actually recommended the land of Palestine over other lands for the reason that Jews could change their socioeconomic status there. You say, for example, Jews who immigrated to America tended to remain in the same types of jobs that they had in Europe. Jews in Russia were not involved in farming or agriculture, for example. If the Jews would collectively move to Palestine, they could develop it into a comprehensive social and economic community where Jews could normalize not only their lifestyles, but also their occupations. So there was this notion that it was also not only for religious reasons, but there was this idea that Palestine would make sense from an economic perspective.
It wasn't for religious reasons at all. They wanted the Jews to get together and start a new economy wherever it was. You know, Herzl wanted, actually the Orthodox Jews, there was a small amount of Orthodox Jews, very misguided, who thought mistakenly that they could kind of exploit the Zionists, that the Zionists will help find a place where the Jews can go where there won't be any anti-Semitism, and as far as ideology and Jewish identity, the rabbis will take care of that. The Zionists presented themselves to many Jews as simply wanting a practical solution to anti-Semitism. That was propaganda. And the rabbis actually said, we don't need the Holy Land, let's take Uganda, because Rabbi Reines was their leader, that was his name. He said, because if we're just looking for a safe place, why do we have to have the Holy Land? And Herzl, who was anti-religious, he didn't like religious Jews. He said, no, we need the Holy Lands because marketing purposes. We want the Jews to feel a sense of being Jewish, but not as a religion, as a nationality. We want them to have a sense of this is a familiar place, the place they've always longed for, but not as a messianic renewal of the world, as a national homeland. You see, artificial Jewish flavoring and artificial Jewish coloring, that's what they did. So it's like taking, I don't know, an apricot flavored Jelly Belly and trying to get nutrition from it and serving it to these people that eat apricots and say, look, we got this new apricot for you. It was bait. It was a generations and generations of, it was brainwashing. But here's the thing, Israel, in order for the problem in Israel to be solved, Israel has to change its identity. The problem is you cannot have a Jewish country, Jewish state the way they define a Jewish state, and also be a democracy. And if they want to retain it as a Jewish state, that's the cause of the problem. So the problem is that Israel calls itself the Jewish state. Israel is different than all other countries in the world. All other countries in the world are the countries of their citizens.
Like, seriously, lovelies, we have really been lied to. When I came across this video on my phone, I was like, are you kidding me right now? That means the real Israel people, the real Jewish people are actually people of color. I have to go on Google to check if there is any other information I could get, and I realized that the people of color which was referred in this, description was actually black people. Like, the origin, the people that originated from this Jewish or Israel people are actually black people. And when the slave masters, when the colonizers came, they had to sell the owners of this land outside, and they now colonized this place. Like, they now colonize this place they call the Jewish or the the Israel. Like, are you kidding me right now? Oh my god, there are a lot of things that we do not even know. Like, I personally, I don't even had an idea of this. When I saw this on my video, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, seriously? I was thinking that the Jewish people or the Israel people are actually white people, like white Irish people with the, curly hair and all of that. Just the pictures of the white people that we all see, or we all, are very, very comfortable or aware with the Israel people. But guess what? The real Israel that they talked about in the Bible was actually the people of color, the dark-skinned people. And these colonizers actually came in, chased these people from their town, or maybe sold them out into slavery, and decided to change everything about that. They decided to change the culture, the language, everything, and now they have dominated that place. And this is why even till date, there's still, a good amount of slavery in both, Israel and Palestinians. There are a lot of them there, like, and we are not even aware of this. Like, me personally, I'm not aware. And when I was like, oh my goodness, I really need to find out about this, I was like, wow, there are so many history that have been erased, and this is just something that we will just keep taking and looking forward to, like finding all the valid information we need to get, because a lot have been wiped out, a lot have been taken out, and we have been misinformed, we have been, brainwashed to believe that, oh my goodness, like there are a lot of information out there which I might personally don't even have idea. Guys, if you have an idea or if you know anything, please, I am a very good listener, I'm a very good learner. Like, I love to learn new things. Like, I wouldn't mind you just share it in the comment section, because I also want to find more about this. Hey, like, I want to find more about it. Like, the dark people are actually the real Israel people. Like, how come? Wow, like, how come they know plenty of the, light-skinned people in Israel, the Jewish people, the Jewish and all of this. Like, this is just something that a lot needs to be talked about, a lot needs to be looked into, and I am just here to sit down, learn, and know what's actually happening in this world. Like, we have been brainwashed and we have been lied up about so many things. Like, when you call something, like, it's not actually what they call white and black, it's actually white and black, because a lot of things have been changed. This is why they bent on trying to remove history in curriculums all over the places, all because they don't want us to find out some certain things. And this is just something that is so disturbing, guys. Why not just leave your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that this channel or page does not support any form of violence. We're just here for educational purposes, guys. So share this video, subscribe if you've not done that, or please, and leave me your own thought in the comment section. And do not forget that this channel does not support any form of violence. We are just here for educational purposes, guys. We are just here to learn. So I will see you lovelies when I upload my next video. And one more thing, if you're coming from Belinda Strand, oh my goodness, you are the real MVP of the family. I cannot wait to hug everyone. And I will see you lovelies when I upload my next video.